Hello, everyone. This is Sean Wargo, and we're back for a new version of Xceptional Insights, our podcast where we talk about the trends in AV, starting a new chapter where we're going to introduce some guests as we go through each one of these to talk about some trends. We're, of course, here at InfoComm. I'm joined by Sanju Khatri. She's the Senior Director of Consulting, I think, over at Omdia. I would introduce also as our partner on the Industry Outlook Trends Analysis. So, Sanju, we're here to kind of talk about the trade show, what we've just seen this week, what we thought was cool, what we saw that might challenge or reaffirm the forecast. Just a little primer for those that are checking in for the first time.
Sure.
As we forecast this year, growth has been declining a little bit. We've come out of a recovery period where the pandemic, of course, hit our industry hard. We've rebounded from that, but there was going to come a day when the growth rate started to slow down a little bit. The hard number on it is 2025. We're expecting about a 3.5%.
Yeah, 3.5.
So the question becomes, we look at a trade show and we wonder what's going to fuel our growth for the future.
Right.
What do we see that's kind of evolving now that might reaccelerate us as we go out towards the end of that forecast period, 2030? So I guess let's start with that. As you walked around this year,
right.
What did you see from a technology perspective that sort of was inspiring, new, or unexpected from a industry opportunity perspective? Anything come to mind for you?
So I would say on LED video, what I saw was a chip-on-board technology. A couple of companies were showcasing chip-on-board technology, and potentially, as the technology matures, that has the potential to lower the LED video display, technology cost, and that will encourage wider adoption, right? So that was one, and a couple of vendors showcased it. And another one was AI story from media players, from vendors that were showing content management sites. So everybody had an AI story. So AI is now going to be, I think on everybody's story, mainly because I think it will it'll help with operational efficiencies. It will help with it'll help with many things. So I think those two is what I see.
Yeah, those are both interesting because I think you and I have talked a lot about in the past of managed service, kind of the real possibilities for managed services kind of coming to the market now.
Right.
Just an area of IOTA that's shown the best growth rates over many iterations over the past 3 years. So those types of technologies, whether it's chip-based or AI, software, all that sort of stuff, would you say it further allows integrators to really think meaningfully about offering a managed service, kind of remote monitoring, data analytics? Makes it more real.
So in case of digital signage, right, it can help several ways. It can help with content creation. It can help with analytics, right? As you capture data on the edge, like through various inputs, and as devices become smarter, and if the process is done at the edge, then some privacy issues can be skirted around, and that way you can provide more meaningful analytics, more quicker analytics. So you're targeting the right people with the right message. And also on the device side, on the back end, you can do a smarter, device management. You can create a digital twin that kind of enables and helps with scenario, and then also helps with maintenance. So all that, so smarter device management in a conference situation. You can AI enables a lot of sound management, noise suppression, and better sound management, better control of devices, right? So all that will basically lead to better consumer experience.
Excellent.
So, yeah. So operational efficiencies, consumer experience, and that will be a growth driver for the industry.
Fantastic. Yeah, it sounds too like we've talked about DV LED as kind of the rising star in the display market, taking over more and more share within video wall and command and control and other areas. So it sounds like these are further compelling reasons for DVLED to kind of accelerate its rise. Would you say that's true in the forecast, or is it still very strongly a flat panel story overall?
So we're talking about near-term forecast. It's LCD or flat panel is, still very strong, just purely because from the cost perspective, right? But then later on, as the price come down, we talked about chip on board technology, right? So that enables lowering of the price, and that in turn enables a wider adoption in the market. So, technology enhancement definitely will lower the price. And also going back to the AI side, what will happen is, device will be smarter. And then also, AI will kind of accelerate the movement to software and to cloud. So that whole movement it'll happen sooner. So all that means that the whole solution will be more affordable, more scalable, flexible, and again, the growth driver.
So the big topic, obviously, that you talked about price and costs and those sorts of things, it brings up, of course, the big specter of tariffs.
Yeah.
We highlighted that as one of the challenges for our industry generally,
right.
and really a headwind against some of the growth. Does it sound like that price decline as the technology becomes more affordable, it can offset perhaps some of the increased costs that comes from a tariff situation? So it may blunt. Would you say that it would blunt a little bit the effect of the increased price from a tariff, therefore helping prices stay a little lower than they might have in a true high tariff situation? What's kind of the word?
So the tariff situation is very unpredictable, right?
Yeah.
It could be short term, it could be long term, right? So at the moment, a lot of vendors have taken many different approaches. It could some have not raised the price, some have added a surcharge, and passed on some cost to the customers. They haven't increased the price, but surcharge is the line item, right? That they have passed, and some have just made a blanket increase, and some have just held on till now, meaning that up until July. And then afterwards, they may, I think they will increase the price, because even those for a lot of products that are sourced from for USA from Mexico, they may have some component cost, right? And then they, as they reorganize or figure out which product is sourced from Mexico, which product is sourced from, let's say, Asia, and all that, as the product plan, right? Figure out that product planning. They may, that will have an impact on labor costs. So the component cost and labor costs could increase. So I think at some point there may be some adjustment. There will be price increase. But as I said, what will, in the long term, what will bring down the price is the technology, is the innovation, is the move to, a cloud, move to software. So it's the technology that brings the cost down. And then also, as the Pro EV industry becomes more AI native, what will happen is we expect the productivity to increase, right? So as you and I, we've used agentic AI, in our day-to-day lives, so we use Gemini or Anthropic or, ChatGPT.
Right.
How productive, our productivity has increased so much, right? So we are doing much more with our time. So, I think that way, we get more done. And that's...
Yeah, if anything, Moore's Law is in effect. Certainly things get better, faster, brighter, all that sort of stuff. And the price point comes down over time.
Exactly.
It's the truism of our industry that we find cost efficiencies.
Yes.
Manufacturing gets better. Sometimes AI might help that too. So price declines over the long run. From what I'm hearing, what you're saying, so tariffs right now, we may not have seen a unanimous response from the market. It may not be across the board price increases, but you do expect that there is a point in time at which that really will become norm.
But however, I have to mention here that price increases for U.S., sourcing for U.S., right? If you're talking about Europe, if you're talking about APAC, that may not be the case, right? As Chinese vendors, find alternate, market to sell to, because if the tariff to US becomes too high, they may seek alternate market, right? And that may create competition in Europe and APAC, which may drive the price down. So I think all in all, it will balance.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I know you and I have talked about one of the things we're noticing in the short term when the tariffs were just being introduced, there was that window of time where companies could try to front end it a little bit, ship in mass volumes. And you've been hearing and seeing that.
We've been seeing it in Q1, display vendors and some audio vendors, control, they did ship in it was normal, more than normal, that seasonality allows for, right? So, consumer seasonality is pretty pronounced, but Pro AV also there's some seasonality. So Q1 typically shouldn't have been that strong, but it was. So that indicates that there was a lot of pull in April. So, and then, we saw Q1 very strong, Q2 April also strong. May probably, we will see a little bit of slowdown, kind of, that's when the tariffs and everything got into play.
It strikes me as an interesting phenomenon because, of course, during the pandemic, product was so short that price went up. It was difficult to complete projects because you just couldn't get your components. And now we may be sitting on a situation where the channel is well saturated with lots of product. We just now need the demand to make sure that it's strong.
Right.
But an oversupply would suggest a further kind of compression on pricing a little bit. Perhaps in displays where it sounded like there was more of this phenomenon happening.
Yes, so displays, more of this phenomenon is happening. So second half of the year would be more interesting. So Q3 is going to be important to watch. So if you look at our industries, right, say federal spending and the budget, all that allocation, everything budget needs to be spent by, let's say, September. We'll see that. Most of the K-12 or higher eds, most of the installations happen when the school is not in session, right? So Q2, Q3 is interesting to watch what will happen. Are the budgets being impacted?
Yeah, Avixa does a quarterly demand study. I know that you've seen before. We call it the MORE study, Market Opportunity Analysis Reports. In that study, we survey 9 countries, get about 1,000 completes of decision makers. And the spoiler alert, we're publishing that now. And it does show actually Q3 a slight uptick in optimism, intent to buy, capital expenditures, all those sorts of things look like they're going up a little bit. So it does seem that the market's responding. The survey really showed that a lot of buyers are saying, we know tariffs are out there. We know that we may end up paying more for our projects, but these are mission critical technology investments. Yeah, I think that's really what's been a driver for our industry is that technology has been reinforced in this position of mission criticality. Important for productivity, important for engagement of the customer. I think we talk about the experience economy as a facet of that. All these are drivers.
Right? And back to work is, that story is continuing. People are going back to work more days, right? And spaces are still, I'm not just talking about US, right? Globally, I think about what our analysts were saying about 25 to 30% saturation. Only those huddle spaces have been digitized, right? Have been so there's a lot of rooms to be fitted with conference kits, right? So there's a lot of potential there. We're just taking a look at US, but if you take a look at global market, I think there's a lot of potential there.
Do you think conference and collaboration, the corporate market, lots of spaces yet to be digitized, equipped with video, equipped with platform-based rooms?
Yes.
Do you see that as more of a volume business at this point?
Exactly. So it's a volume. The number of big boardrooms where AV has a lot of play, right? Pro AV has a lot of play. Those are limited in number. So it's the huddle rooms and all that. It's the volume play for that.
So in terms of margin for the market, for our industry, Pro AV, if the corporate collaboration spaces are much more of a volume, lots of scale, lots of investment, Where do you see kind of the sweet spot for it, for a integrator kind of looking at a better opportunity for them to flex their service muscle to generate margin? Which markets are you kind of seeing as we look at our kind of long range forecasts? I know we've spoken about experience economy, but
Yes.
maybe tease that out a little bit more. What would you say there?
So I would say large venues,
Yeah.
public spaces, large venues, and mission critical like command control, transportation, digital signage applications. So, retail, right? So those spaces are, going to be critical for Pro AV. There's going to be AV and IT play for conferencing collaborations. So as you can see, there's for smaller what do you call it? Corporations, not corporations, smaller
Enterprise?
Smaller enterprise, and it's SMB. That's what I was saying.
Yes.
SMB, right?
Yes.
So those could be more of an IT play. Right. So where is Pro AV's sweet spots? So large enterprises, experience in an economy, staging, rental staging, events, large venues, where experience is, the most critical thing. Even retail stores, most of the purchases are having online. So why do people go to retail stores? To get that experience, right? So that's where I think Pro AV's contribution is going to be critical.
You mentioned digital signage, and you've highlighted in the research as a stronger area of growth.
Yes. Yeah.
But we just spoke about display pricing kind of maybe collapsing a little bit. We got chip on board and other technologies that are kind of inefficiencies that are helping around price. We may have oversupply. Does that potentially impact growth rates for digital signage, or is there another part to that story? Because digital signage, clearly more than just the display, whatever the price point. And I think the answer may be perhaps in size and resolution where they can flex up, right? There's more specs to go after in a digital signage installation. So what gets us the growth in digital signage, do you think?
It's the need to, again, it's the core of digital signage, getting the right message to the right people at the right time. That is what is going to drive the digital signage. Now we have the tools, the AI capability to actually deliver that. And, media players, some of the media players, they already have the NPU, the neural processing unit there. Now it's up to the content CMS providers to actually build content on top of that allows for that data, to be analyzed and allows for content to be tailored to the audience that you are targeting, right? So it's an opportunity. Whether the vendors will take it or not, it's up to them, right? But there is a need to advertising dollars are limited. So, to reach the right people and provide them with the right, the good experience that a brand is looking for. So I think it's the user need and the digital signage, hardware and the software capabilities to deliver it. That's what is going to drive the digital signage market, I think. And then the hardware cost, right? These days, if you get the basic hardware, or a good hardware in place, a lot of capabilities can be driven through cloud, through software updates, right? So a good media player with a solid display will last for a while. So
yeah, one of the things you just mentioned there is the content side of the equation, and I certainly heard here at the show, and the industry's been talking about for a while, sort of content as a service. So another opportunity for an integrator to move beyond just the installation of the display and thinking about the long-term usage and engagement of that product by serving content alongside it. Some of that is CMS, content management service, actually hard software companies offering a bit of that. Are you seeing, though, a rise in that kind of a service offering in the market, too, where more companies are starting to think about, boy, I don't want to put up a nice display and then just have it say welcome the whole time.
Right.
I want content that's relevant to my brand, to my customer, all those sorts of things.
Right.
How much is that playing into the managed services that we're...
So managed services, I would say, I would still put data analytics, being able to, so, in a digital signage environment, there are cameras capturing, a lot of dwell time or how engaged the person is, right? So if you're doing individual targeting, you can do age, you can look at all the demographics, right? So if the analytics is not utilizing data, that's information wasted, right? So I would say, I would say the analytics part is really important, and then the content part also. With Gen AI, you can create a lot of good content, a more targeted content as well. So yeah, I would say both. I would say analytics is also required so that you can really use the data.
Yeah.
If you're collecting the data, you should be able to use it in a more targeted way.
Yeah, and it would seem that the data offers an opportunity for us to customize an experience better.
Yes,
so
exactly.
Especially in a shopping environment, a hospitality environment, transportation, certainly.
Yes.
User-specific content. So
specific content.
they
And
like
now,
you,
yeah,
they react
exactly.
to you,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
And especially if that data is analyzed at the edge within the device, right? It's not uploaded to the cloud, then the privacy concern is skirted. So
makes sense.
yeah. So privacy is a huge concern, right? For signage, for surveillance security. So that's
Yes, I imagine particularly in GDPR countries where, there's keeping that PII, the personal identifiable information, secure is super important.
Yes.
And I think it's a way of making somebody feel more comfortable too. I think we all think about, or some more than others, the concern over being watched all the time. And so it can feel oogie, weird, intrusive, scientific words, for the user, if that's the case. So making it more personal, human, makes sense for our opportunity, for our industry to help in the process.
Yeah.
Let's see. So a part of that, and one of the things that jumps out of our forecast pretty much every time, you mentioned cloud, software, certainly big areas of growth.
Exactly.
Let's unpack software a little bit. So software, the logical and obvious one we've just discussed is content management software. Tell me more. What else are you seeing at shows like this that are examples of that rapid growth in software, albeit it's still small chunk, right, of our total industry forecast, the fastest growing? What kinds of things do you see emerging in the market for software tools for the industry?
It could be very industry specific. For example, and that's I say industry specific because the enterprise IT, they have their own software applications. Those can be tailored to industry specific. For example, control room, right? Control room need for software is very specific, and it's So there are vendors that cater to them. So, and education, right? They're learning software that is now with AI. Those are going to be so important. And same thing. What other industries? Let's say live events could be So what I'm trying to say is that software could be now developed and catered to each specific use cases.
And I imagine becomes very hard to track in some ways because there's a lot of innovation, maybe smaller vendor, maybe custom delivered and proprietary software built for a specific client. So I think we do our best, right, to quantify how much that opportunity is.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned, it's still a smaller chunk of the market than hardware. One of the things you and I talk about often is the movement more and more towards software and cloud, potentially away from hardware in some places. But as our forecast shows, hardware is still the biggest chunk of revenue overall.
Right.
So we're still an endpoints market. We're still displays. We're still microphones, speakers, cameras, all the full gamut. But it's important to note that an increasing amount of investment is in that kind of cloud-based infrastructure, is in the software tools that further, augment or help us deliver the experience at the end.
Yes. So I would say, hardware story will also stay strong, mainly because, a lot of processing capabilities need, for some applications, a lot of processing capabilities need to happen at the edge. Because cloud has some latency. So there are applications where latency is not tolerated. And some of those, some of those capabilities will be able, should be handled at the edge. So, so it's because of that, media player, will be, will have more processing capabilities, right? So, and our devices are going to be smarter, like cameras are going to be smarter, right? A lot of processes will be happening at the camera level. Your microphones will be smarter with AI capabilities. So hardware is not going anywhere.
Well, that being said, there are product categories, though, where we see a little bit more challenge, right? There are elements of the forecast, and in some cases, in fairness, it's technology evolution. As an example, audio conferencing systems, pure play audio conferencing systems, are giving way to more video enabled.
More video, yeah.
So that's a fair kind of decline of market.
Yes.
Are there other areas that you can think of that are perhaps more challenged because of technology evolution and transition to new technology?
So for example, SoC, right? It's a slot in on the back of the screen system and chip. Like, or there's a smart module that goes on the back of the screen. So from a separate, product, it's part of the display now. So we may see something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I know
it depends on the usage.
Yeah.
Of course, if it is light usage, it can be done. Yeah.
I think the other area you and I have talked about is rear projection for control room.
Yes.
That's been a long time.
Yes, there are some products on the market, but those are strictly for a replacement of current installation. So, yeah.
What do you think about laser-based technology for a projector? Is that helping to breathe life or extend the sort of relevancy of projector in many use cases?
Absolutely.
Now that we have EV LED and, of course, flat panel improvement, all that sort of stuff, some have wondered whether we finally see the true end-to-end of projector.
Right.
I'd say the rumors of its demise may be exaggerated, but certainly an area where we see a bit of contraction, even as new technology is coming in.
Yeah, so projection mapping is a great technology, right? Because of that, there are so many use cases of projection mapping. So, venues and events are immensely benefiting from it. And they're also because of laser, so the whole lifespan of a projector has increased so much, right? So that has helped quite a bit for the projection market, whereas rear projection, it's going away. Yeah.
Excellent. So one thing that we are showing in our research is that while we have this little bit of slump right now, we're in 3.5% growth, we actually do see some improvement as we go into 2026 and 2027.
Yeah.
What do you think drives that primarily? Is it a specific innovation? Is it the normalization of tariff situation? Is it GDP? What kinds of things?
So I would say GDP. If you look at the overall country GDP, if you look at all the major GDP announcements, it improves in 2026 from 2025. So that is one, and then but ultimately it is the consumer demand. Consumer need that will drive it. So better experience, and also we're focused. So tariff will normalize, right? We expect the tariff will normalize and the prices will normalize in 2026. But overall, it's the end user demand, and that will drive the market, and the technology that enables better user experience that will enable the market.
Do you think as we look at 2030, 2029, 2030, so normally our forecasts sort of start trailing again because the future becomes a little less clear, and so the normal is to try to be conservative about the outlook. What would you say is a upside? Is there something in particular? You mentioned chip technology inside DV-LED as perhaps a driver, but is there something that you look at 2030 and you say that could be the next that is a fuel for an accelerated growth? If there was anything, could be a wild thing.
I would say hyper-targeted experience. Individual consumer experience as you walk in a store. I mean, some of that is there, but I think we cannot imagine what is possible, right? targeted experience, enhanced experience. And that's what, AV is all about, a technology that enables experience.
Love that. Yeah. XR is kind of an example of that, where we start combining technologies to really augment and enhance somebody's individual experience with beam technology for audio. In fact, Google Beam is a technology here at the show that's giving us a more hyper-realistic kind of conferencing experience.
Exactly.
So all of those things, it gives you hope for the future and brings us back to trade shows year over year over year for sure.
Right.
So certainly looking forward to the next. I think we'll probably next meet at ISE. And looking forward to that. I think we are about ready to jump over to our other podcast desk. Sanju, is there any other parting words of wisdom that you would give our industry as we kind of look at forecasts and outlook for going forward?
I'm really excited for this industry and what the technology has to bring in.
I am too. Thanks so much, Sanju, for joining me. It was a pleasure here at InfoComm. We'll see you at ISE.